The bottle hit before Jade Harper could raise her hands. Champagne exploded across her face. Dom Perignon, $200 a bottle. Damian Graham always did have expensive taste. The glass followed, shattering against her temple. Warm blood mixed with cold wine, dripping onto her swollen belly. 8 months pregnant. Alone in aisle 9. And the man who'd promised her forever was standing over her like she was trash. "Look at you," Damian said, loud enough for everyone to hear. "Shopping for discount crackers with my bastard in your belly." Jade's knees hit the tile. Hard. Phone cameras rose like a firing squad. 37 strangers watched her bleed, and not one of them moved to help. Welcome to Seoul and Melanin Love. You just stepped into a reckoning you won't forget. If you're new here, buckle up, because what you're about to witness is a love story wrapped in vengeance, power wrapped in silk, and a man who's been waiting 6 months for permission to destroy everything. This is the story of a woman who called the one person she swore she'd never need, and the underground king who's been watching from the shadows, waiting for this exact moment. Damian circled her like a predator. His new girlfriend clung to his arm, designer purse dangling, diamond tennis bracelet catching the light. The same bracelet Jade had admired in a boutique window 6 months ago, back when Damian still pretended to love her. "Remember when you begged me to stay?" Damian crouched down, voice dropping to a whisper only Jade could hear. "When you cried about the baby being mine?" Jade's hand moved to her stomach. "Protective. Instinctive. Pathetic," he continued, standing. "I dodged a bullet leaving you." The girlfriend giggled. High-pitched. Performative. She was 22, maybe 23. Jade had been that age when Damian first approached her at the marketing firm. Back when she thought his attention meant something. "You threw away 3 years," Jade said quietly, wiping blood from her eye. "For what?" "Instagram photos and bottle service." Damian's smile disappeared. "I threw away dead weight." He grabbed a bottle of Grey Goose from a nearby display. "Here's what you're worth now." He poured vodka over her head. The liquid burned her eyes, stung the cut on her temple. Jade gasped, hands scrambling for purchase on the tile floor. Her dress, a clearance rack find from Target, clung to her skin, soaked and humiliating. "Somebody should call security," an elderly woman muttered from behind a shopping cart. Nobody did. 3 years of my life wasted on someone who couldn't even keep herself together, Damian announced, playing to his audience now. "Look at her. Knocked up, broke, buying generic cereal." Jade's vision blurred. Not from tears, she refused to give him that. From rage. Pure, crystallized fury that had been building since the day Damian walked out, leaving her with nothing but a lease she couldn't afford and a baby she'd have to raise alone. But what Damian didn't know, what he couldn't have known, was that Jade's phone had been clutched in her hand since the moment she'd spotted him across the store. Her thumb had already found the contact labeled "Do Not Call." The phone had barely rung once. "Jade." The voice wasn't a question. It was a statement, low and controlled, with an edge that could cut glass. Jean Woo Park didn't ask if she was okay. Didn't ask where she was. The silence on the other end was the kind that precedes earthquakes. "I'm at the grocery store on 5th, she'd whispered 30 seconds ago, her voice cracking. "He's here." The line had gone dead. And now, as Damian continued his performance, as his girlfriend filmed, as the crowd whispered and judged and did nothing, the air changed. "You done?" Jade asked, voice steady despite the chaos. Damian blinked. "What?" "I asked if you're done." Jade pushed herself up, using a shelf for support. Her hands shook, but she locked her knees, forcing herself to stand. "Because you've got about 10 seconds before you regret every word you just said." Damian laughed. "Threatening me? You can barely afford diapers." "Not a threat." Jade's lips curved into something that wasn't quite a smile. "A promise." The automatic doors at the front of the store opened. Footsteps. Measured. Deliberate. Not the shuffle of a casual shopper, the calculated stride of someone who knew exactly where they were going. Damien didn't notice. He was too busy performing, too absorbed in his cruelty to sense the shift in the room. But Jade noticed. She always noticed when Jinwoo Park entered a space. The temperature seemed to drop 5 degrees. Conversations died mid-sentence. Even the music playing overhead seemed to fade, replaced by something heavier, anticipation maybe, or dread. Jinwoo stopped 3 feet behind Damien. 6'2". Tailored black suit, no tie. Dark hair swept back, revealing a face carved from stone, beautiful in the way a blade is beautiful. Dangerous. Purposeful. His eyes found Jade's. She gave the smallest nod. Permission granted. Step away from my wife, Jinwoo said, voice low and cold as a February ocean. Damien spun around. Who the hell are? He stopped mid-sentence. Recognition flickered across his face, not of Jinwoo personally, but of the type of man standing before him. The kind you don't challenge. The kind you cross the street to avoid. Your wife. Damien's voice cracked. She's not. She is. Jinwoo moved forward, closing the distance. And you just assaulted her. The crowd that had been so eager to film Jade's humiliation suddenly found reasons to leave. Carts abandoned. Groceries forgotten. Within 15 seconds, aisle 9 emptied like someone had pulled a fire alarm. Only Damien, his girlfriend, Jade, and Jinwoo remained. This is a misunderstanding, Damien said, hands raised. We used to date, I was just pouring alcohol on a pregnant woman? Jinwoo's tone didn't rise. Didn't need to. Cutting her face with broken glass? Damien's girlfriend tugged his arm. Baby, let's go. Jinwoo's gaze shifted to her. You're complicit. Stay. She froze. I don't know who you think you are, Damien tried, ego reasserting itself despite the obvious danger. But I'm a regional sales director at Vertex Capital. I have lawyers. Connections. And I have leverage. Jinwoo reached into his jacket. Damien flinched. But Jinwoo only pulled out a phone. He tapped the screen twice, then held it up. Damien's face went white. That's... He swallowed. Where did you get that? Your offshore accounts. The embezzled funds. The wire transfers to the Cayman Islands. Jinwoo scrolled slowly. Should I continue, or would you prefer I send this directly to the SEC? Jade watched realization dawn on Damien's face. The cocky smile dissolved. The bravado crumbled. In its place, raw, animal fear. How long have you been following me? Damien whispered. Since the day you left Jade homeless. Jinwoo pocketed the phone. Every financial crime. Every mistress. Every lie to your board of directors. I have it all. Damien's knees gave out. He caught himself against a shelf, bottles rattling. What do you want? He asked. For you to understand, Jinwoo said, that the woman you just humiliated is untouchable. The child she's carrying is under my protection. And if you ever, and I mean ever, come near her again, these documents go public. Silence. Do we have an understanding? Damien nodded frantically. I didn't hear you. Yes, Damien gasped. Yes, we have an understanding. Jinwoo turned to the girlfriend. Take him home. If you're smart, you'll leave him by morning. She grabbed Damien's arm, practically dragging him toward the exit. They were gone in seconds. The store remained eerily quiet. Jinwoo finally looked at Jade, really looked at her. His expression softened, just slightly. Enough for her to see the man beneath the monster. Are you hurt? He asked. Jade touched her temple. Blood had stopped flowing, but the cut would scar. I'll survive. That's not what I asked. She met his eyes. No, I'm not hurt. A lie, but one they both accepted. Jinwoo removed his jacket and draped it over her shoulders. It smelled like cedar and rain. Expensive cologne she couldn't pronounce. Let's go home, he said. Jade nodded. But as they walked toward the exit, she glanced back at the abandoned bottles, the spilled champagne, the broken glass still glittering on the floor. Evidence of Damien's cruelty. And the beginning of his destruction. Because what Damien didn't know, what he couldn't have known, was that Jin-Woo Park wasn't just Jade's husband. He was the silent partner in Vertex Capital. The invisible hand that controlled Damien's entire career. And in 72 hours, Damien Graham's world would burn. The Lexus LC 500 idled in the parking lot, black on black, tinted windows reflecting nothing. Jin-Woo opened the passenger door. Jade slid inside, his jacket still wrapped around her shoulders. The leather seats were warm and heated, even though it was July. He always thought of details like that. Your temple needs stitches, Jin-Woo said, starting the engine. It can wait. It can't. Jade didn't argue. She'd learned months ago that Jin-Woo Park didn't make suggestions. He stated facts and expected compliance. Not in a controlling way. In a protective one. There was a difference. They drove in silence for 3 miles. Jazz played softly through the speakers. Miles Davis, Kind of Blue. Jin-Woo's favorite album, though he'd never explained why. How long were you watching? Jade finally asked. Since you entered the store. You followed me? I always follow you. His eyes remained on the road. You think I'd let you go anywhere alone? Jade's hand moved to her belly. The baby kicked strong, insistent. Like it knew they were talking about safety. I can handle Damien, she said. I know you can. Jin-Woo changed lanes smoothly. But you shouldn't have to. The medical building appeared ahead, private practice, no waiting room crowds. Jin-Woo had called ahead. He always called ahead. They parked in the underground garage. Empty except for a Mercedes and a Tesla. Doctors' cars. Jin-Woo came around to her side, offering his hand. Jade took it. His skin was warm despite the coldness in his eyes. A contradiction she still hadn't figured out after 3 months of marriage. Why did you marry me? The question escaped before she could stop it. Jin-Woo paused at the elevator. You needed protection. That's not a reason to marry someone. It was reason enough. The elevator doors opened. They stepped inside. Mirrors on 3 walls reflected them endlessly, Jade in her stained Target dress, Jin-Woo in his perfect suit. Beauty and the Beast, she thought. Except she couldn't figure out which one she was. Damien doesn't know who you really are, Jade said as they ascended. No. He thinks you're just some rich husband. Good. But you're not, are you? Jin-Woo's reflection met hers in the mirror. What do you think I am? Jade studied his face. Sharp jawline. Eyes like midnight. Hands that could break bones, but had only ever touched her gently. Dangerous, she whispered. The elevator stopped. 15th floor. Jin-Woo stepped out first, holding the door. You have no idea, he said. And for the first time since the grocery store, Jade felt a chill that had nothing to do with champagne or blood. Behind Jin-Woo's calm exterior lived something darker. Something Damien would soon discover. But by then, it would be far too late. Dr. Rivera finished the last stitch without a word. 7 total. Clean work. The scar would be thin, barely visible once healed. Keep it dry for 48 hours, she said, snapping off her gloves. No heavy lifting. Jade nodded. Jin-Woo stood by the window, phone pressed to his ear, speaking rapid Korean. His tone was measured but firm, the kind of voice that ended arguments before they started. He hung up as Dr. Rivera left. Damien made 3 calls after leaving the store, Jin-Woo said. 1 to his lawyer. 2 to colleagues at Vertex. Already trying to spin the story. Already failing. Jin-Woo pocketed his phone. His lawyer won't touch this. I made certain of that. Jade stood slowly, testing her balance. The adrenaline had worn off, leaving exhaustion in its wake. How? The firm represents several of my interests. I reminded them where their loyalties lie. You own his lawyer? I own everyone who matters in this city. The casual way he said it, like commenting on the weather, sent ice through Jade's veins. She'd known Jin-Woo was wealthy. Connected. But this was something else entirely. What exactly do you do? Jade asked. Jin-Woo's expression didn't change. Import-export. That's not an answer. It's the only one you need. Jade stepped closer. close enough to see the faint scar along his collarbone, barely visible above his shirt. Close enough to smell cedar and rain and something metallic underneath, gun oil maybe. "I'm carrying your child," she said. "I think I deserve more than corporate speak." Jean Woo's jaw tightened. For a moment, she thought he'd shut down completely. Then he spoke. "I manage logistics for people who prefer to remain invisible. I move money across borders. I solve problems that can't be solved legally. And when someone threatens what's mine, I remove them. Remove them. However necessary." Jade's breath caught. "Damien is already removed. He just doesn't know it yet." The baby kicked hard, as if responding to the tension. Jade winced, hand flying to her stomach. Jean Woo noticed immediately. "Are you fine? Just active tonight?" He moved closer, hand hovering near her belly, asking permission without words. Jade guided his palm to where the baby was moving. Jean Woo's entire demeanor shifted. The ice melted. The predator became human. "Strong," he murmured. "Like her father." "Her? I know. Don't ask me how." Jean Woo's thumb traced small circles on her stomach. Gentle. Reverent. This was the man who'd married her in a courthouse with no guests. Who'd moved her into his penthouse without questions. Who'd held her hair back during morning sickness and never once asked for anything in return. But he was also the man who'd just threatened to destroy Damien Graham. And Jade was beginning to realize destruction might be the kindest option. "There's someone else," Jean Woo said quietly. "Someone pulling strings behind Damien." Jade's blood went cold. "Who?" "Hyun Jae Lee." The name hung in the air like poison. "Who is that?" Jean Woo's hand stilled on her belly. "My brother." The penthouse felt colder when they returned. Jade stood at the floor-to-ceiling windows, watching Seattle's skyline blink against the darkness. Behind her, Jean Woo poured whiskey, hibiki Japanese, older than most marriages. "Your brother," Jade said without turning. "You've never mentioned him." "There's nothing to mention. Except he's apparently controlling my ex-boyfriend." Jean Woo drained half his glass. "Hyun Jae doesn't control people. He collects them. Like insects pinned to a board." Jade turned. "Why Damien?" "Because Damien is weak. Greedy. Exactly the type Hyun Jae uses for leverage." "Leverage for what?" Jean Woo set down his glass. "Me." The admission hung between them. "He's been trying to destroy me for 7 years, Jean Woo continued. "Ever since our father left everything to me and nothing to him." "Everything meaning what?" "The organization. The territory. The respect." Jean Woo's voice carried no pride, only exhaustion. Hyun Jae was the oldest. He believed it was his birthright. Jade crossed to the couch, sinking into leather that probably cost more than her old apartment. "So he's what, jealous?" "Homicidal." The word landed like a gunshot. "He's tried twice to kill me," Jean Woo said calmly. "Once in Busan, once in Vancouver. Both times, people I trusted betrayed me. Both times, Hyun Jae was pulling strings from the shadows." Jade's hand moved protectively to her stomach. "And now he's using Damien to get to me. To get to us." Jean Woo sat beside her, close but not touching. "Hyun Jae knows the fastest way to hurt me is through you. Through our child." "How long has he known about me?" "Since the wedding." 3 months. Jade's throat tightened. "He's been watching me for 3 months?" "Longer. He knew about you before I did." The implications crashed over Jade like a wave. "Wait, are you saying Damien leaving me wasn't random?" Jean Woo's silence was answer enough. "Hyun Jae orchestrated it," Jade whispered. "He put Damien in my life. Made him leave me. Knew I'd be vulnerable. And that I'd step in to protect you." "Yes." Rage flooded through her, hot and righteous. "So our entire relationship is part of some sick game between you and your brother?" "No." Jean Woo finally looked at her, and for the first time, she saw genuine emotion crack through his armor. "I married you because I wanted to. Not because Hyun Jae manipulated circumstances. He gave me the opportunity, but the choice was mine." "That's supposed to make me feel better?" "It's supposed to make you understand the stakes." Jade stood, pacing. What does he want? Money? Territory. My head on a platter. Jinwoo rose, movements predatory. But he's patient. Methodical. He won't strike until he's certain he'll win. So, what do? We strike first. The certainty in his voice should have frightened her. Instead, it ignited something primal, a need for vengeance she didn't know she possessed. Damien was just the opening move, Jinwoo continued. Hyun-jae wanted to see how I'd respond. Whether I'd be emotional. Reckless. And? I responded exactly as he expected. Which means he'll underestimate what comes next. Jade moved closer. What comes next? Jinwoo's phone buzzed. He glanced at the screen, expression darkening. He's invited us to dinner. Your brother. Tomorrow night. Neutral territory. He wants to meet you. Jade's blood turned to ice. Why? Jinwoo looked at her, and in his eyes, she saw something that terrified her more than any threat. Respect. Not for Hyun-jae. For her. Because, Jinwoo said slowly, he's realized you're not a pawn. Then what am I? The queen. Outside, rain began to fall against the windows. And somewhere in the city, Hyun-jae Lee was already planning his next move. Jade couldn't sleep. She stood in Jinwoo's study at 2 a.m., staring at files spread across his mahogany desk. Bank statements. Shipping manifests. Photographs of men she didn't recognize. And one folder labeled Hyun-jae Lee. She opened it. The first photo showed a man who looked almost identical to Jinwoo, same sharp features, same intensity. But where Jinwoo's eyes held controlled fire, Hyun-jae's held chaos. You're not supposed to be in here. Jade spun. Jinwoo stood in the doorway, shirtless, gun holstered at his hip. Always armed, even at home. I need to understand what I'm walking into tomorrow, Jade said. Jinwoo moved closer, but didn't close the folder. Understanding won't protect you. Then what will? Me. That's not enough. Jade's voice hardened. I'm not some helpless girl who needs saving. I survived Damien. I'll survive this. Jinwoo studied her face. Something shifted in his expression, recognition, maybe. Or approval. What do you want to know? He asked. Everything. Jinwoo pulled out a chair. Jade sat. Hyun-jae runs the western seaboard, Jinwoo began. Drugs, weapons, human trafficking. Anything that moves and makes money, he controls it. And you? I control the money. The legitimate fronts. The politicians and judges who look the other way. Jinwoo's finger traced a shipping route on a map. We're two sides of the same coin. He's the blade. I'm the hand that wields it. Wielded, Jade corrected. Past tense. Jinwoo's jaw tightened. Our father split the empire. Hyun-jae got operations. I got infrastructure. He thinks I betrayed him by taking the more powerful position. Did you? Yes. The honesty startled her. Our father was dying, Jinwoo continued. He knew Hyun-jae was reckless. Violent. The empire would collapse under his leadership. So he chose me. And Hyun-jae never forgave you. He swore he'd take everything I love and burn it in front of me. Jade's hand moved to her belly. That's why you married me so quickly. Why you've been so protective. Partially. What's the other part? Jinwoo met her eyes. I wanted to. The admission hung between them. Before Jade could respond, Jinwoo's phone vibrated. He glanced at the screen, expression darkening. What? Jade asked. Damien's in the hospital. Her blood went cold. What happened? Hyun-jae sent a message. Jinwoo turned the phone toward her. The photo showed Damien in an ICU bed, face swollen beyond recognition. Tubes everywhere. Machines beeping. Jade's stomach turned. He's alive, Jinwoo said. Barely. 3 broken ribs, punctured lung, shattered jaw. Why would Hyun-jae do this? Damien was working for him. Exactly. He's tying up loose ends. Jinwoo pocketed the phone. Damien served his purpose. Now he's liability. Jade stood, pacing. If he's eliminating people who know too much, where next? We've always been next. Then why wait for dinner? Why not just? Because Hyun-jae wants something from you. Jade froze. From me? You're pregnant with my child, Jin-woo said carefully. The first legitimate heir to the Park family in 2 generations. Hyun-jae has no children. No legacy. Understanding crashed over her. He wants our baby. Not wants. Needs. Without an heir, his claim to the empire dies with him. So tomorrow's dinner is negotiation. He'll offer me something. Territory, maybe. Money. In exchange for shared custody or adoption rights. Rage flooded through Jade. He beats Damien half to death, orchestrates my entire relationship, and now wants to negotiate for our child? That's exactly what he wants. And what do you want? Jin-woo moved closer, cupping her face with surprising gentleness. I want you and our daughter safe. Everything else is negotiable. Even your empire? Especially my empire. Jade pulled back. No. Jade. I said no. Her voice carried steel she didn't know she possessed. I'm not running. I'm not hiding. And I'm sure as hell not giving him 1 inch of leverage over our family. Jin-woo's eyes widened slightly. You don't understand what you're. I understand perfectly. He's a bully. And bullies only respect one thing. What's that? Jade met his gaze without flinching. Someone who hits back harder. For the first time since they'd met, Jin-woo smiled. Not the polite smile he used in public. A real one. Dangerous and proud. Tomorrow night, Jade said, we go to dinner. But we don't negotiate. We declare war. Outside, thunder rolled across Seattle. And in that moment, Hyun-jae Lee made his first critical mistake. He'd underestimated the woman carrying his brother's child. Morning came with news alerts. Jade's phone buzzed repeatedly. She grabbed it from the nightstand, Jin-woo still asleep beside her. Breaking. Vertex Capital executive arrested on federal charges. Her heart stopped. The article showed Damien's photo, the confident headshot from his LinkedIn. Below it, a list of charges that read like a crime novel. Wire fraud. Money laundering. Securities violations. Jin-woo stirred. Let me see. She handed him the phone. He read silently, then smiled. Cold. Satisfied. You did this, Jade said. I accelerated what was already inevitable. The SEC had been investigating Vertex for months, Jin-woo explained, sitting up. I simply provided them with evidence they couldn't ignore. Bank transfers. Emails. Recorded phone calls. From when? From the past 3 years. Every conversation Damien thought was private. Jade's stomach twisted. You've been watching him since we were together? Since before you met him. The implications made her head spin. Why? Because Hyun-jae placed Damien in your life 2 months before you were hired at that marketing firm. Your meeting wasn't coincidence. It was strategy. Jade stood, wrapping herself in Jin-woo's robe. So Damien was always working for your brother. Always. And our entire relationship was surveillance. Hyun-jae wanted intel on my business operations. He thought seducing one of my accountants would give him access. Jade's blood ran cold. I was your accountant? You processed international transfers for 3 of my shell companies. You had no idea they were connected to me. Jin-woo joined her at the window. Damien's job was to get close, earn your trust, steal your passwords. But I never gave him access to work files. Exactly. Which is why Hyun-jae told him to abandon you. You were useless to their operation. The cruelty of it staggered her. 3 years of her life. A pregnancy. All part of some corporate espionage scheme. How long have you known about me? Jade asked quietly. Since the day you were hired. I review every employee with system access. So when you approached me after Damien left, I knew everything. Your passwords. Your routines. The baby. Jade turned. Did you know it was yours? Jin-woo's expression didn't change. The timing was impossible to miss. Her hand flew before she could stop it, palm connecting with his cheek. Hard. The slap echoed through the penthouse. Jin-woo didn't flinch. Didn't move. You used me, Jade whispered. Just like Damien did. Just like your brother did. No. Then what's the difference? The difference, Jin-woo said slowly, is that I fell in love with you. Jade froze. Damien saw a target. Hyun-jae saw a pawn. I saw a woman too smart to be broken by either of them. Jin-woo's voice remained steady despite the red mark blooming on his face. You never gave Damien your passwords. Never compromised company security. Even when he pressured you, when he made you feel small, you held firm. That's not love. That's respect for my professional ethics. It's both. Jin-woo stepped closer. I've spent 7 years surrounded by people who can be bought, threatened, or seduced into betrayal. You're the first person I've met who couldn't be manipulated. So you married me? I married you because leaving you vulnerable would have gotten you killed. Hyun-jae doesn't tolerate failed operations. Once Damien proved you were useless, my brother would have eliminated you. Jade's hand moved to her stomach. The baby? Made you a priority target. Hyun-jae realized you were pregnant before Damien did. He knew it was mine. How? Because I stopped sleeping with anyone the day you were hired. The admission hung in the air. That's impossible, Jade said. We never met before the wedding. We met once. Elevator in the Vertex building. You were holding coffee and a stack of files. You smiled at me. Jade's mind raced back. 6 months ago. Morning rush. A man in a black suit who'd held the door. That was you. That was me. Her phone buzzed again. Another news alert. Vertex Capital executive found dead in holding cell. Apparent suicide. Jade's hands shook. Damien's dead. Jin-woo took the phone. Read the headline. His expression darkened. That wasn't suicide. Hyun-jae. He's cleaning house before tonight's dinner. Eliminating anyone who could testify against his operations. We need to cancel. We're not canceling. Jin-woo grabbed his phone, typing rapidly. We're ending this. How? He turned the screen toward her. A live security feed showed a restaurant, high-end, private room in the back. And sitting alone at the table, pouring wine, was Hyun-jae Lee. He's already there, Jade whispered. 3 hours early. Because he's setting a trap. Jin-woo's phone rang. Unknown number. He answered on speaker. Hyun-jae's voice filled the room, smooth, cultured, identical to Jin-woo's, but laced with poison. Little brother. I hope you're getting ready. I'm so looking forward to meeting your wife. The line went dead. Jade met Jin-woo's eyes. We walk into that restaurant, she said. We might not walk out. I know. So what's the plan? Jin-woo's smile was razor-sharp. We give him exactly what he wants. The restaurant was empty except for them. Jade wore red, a deliberate choice. Jin-woo had taught her that colors send messages in his world. Red meant war. Hyun-jae stood when they entered. Identical height to Jin-woo. Same build. But his smile was wrong, too wide, too hungry. Brother, he said warmly. And the famous Jade Harper. Lee, Jin-woo corrected coldly. She's Jade Lee now. Hyun-jae's smile tightened. Of course. Please sit. They sat. 3 points of a triangle. Hyun-jae poured wine. To family. Neither Jin-woo nor Jade touched their glasses. Smart, Hyun-jae laughed. I taught you well, little brother. You taught me nothing. I taught you survival. How to read people. How to identify weakness. His eyes slid to Jade's stomach. How to exploit it. My wife is not a weakness, Jin-woo said. Then why are you here? If she means nothing, why negotiate? We're not negotiating. Hyun-jae's expression shifted, amusement to confusion to anger in 3 seconds. Then why come? Jade leaned forward. To watch you lose. Hyun-jae laughed. Actually laughed. Lose? Little dove, I've already won. Damien's dead. The evidence against Vertex leads nowhere. And you're sitting in my restaurant, surrounded by my men. Your men left 10 minutes ago, Jinwoo said calmly. Hyun-jae's smile vanished. He snapped his fingers. Nothing happened. He snapped again. Harder. Silence. What did you do? Hyun-jae whispered. I gave them a better offer. Triple salary. Guaranteed immunity. New identities if needed. Jinwoo checked his watch. Right now, they're providing testimony to federal prosecutors. Every murder you ordered. Every shipment you moved. Every politician you bought. Hyun-jae lunged for his jacket, going for a gun. Jinwoo was faster. His weapon pressed against his brother's temple before Hyun-jae's hand reached fabric. Don't, Jinwoo said quietly. Hyun-jae froze. You won't kill me. Not your own blood. You're right. Jinwoo stepped back, lowering his gun. I won't. Hyun-jae's confidence returned. I knew you were weak. But she will. Jade stood, pulling a pistol from her purse. The weight felt foreign but right in her hand. Jinwoo had taught her to shoot last week. Just in case. She aimed at Hyun-jae's chest. You think I'm afraid of a pregnant woman? Hyun-jae sneered. You should be, Jade said. Because I have nothing to lose and everything to protect. Her finger moved to the trigger. Wait. Hyun-jae's hands rose. We can negotiate. Money. Territory. Name your price. You already named it, Jade replied. You wanted my child. My family. My life. She took a step closer. But here's what you didn't understand. I'm not some pawn you can move around a board. I'm the woman who survived Damien's cruelty. Who built a life from nothing. Who learned your brother's world in 3 months and mastered it. Her voice dropped to a whisper. I'm the mother of the next generation. And you're the past. Hyun-jae's face contorted with rage. You're nothing. I'm everything you'll never be. Loved. Protected. Chosen. Sirens wailed outside. Multiple vehicles. Federal agents stormed through the entrance, weapons drawn. Hyun-jae Lee, the lead agent, called. You're under arrest. Hyun-jae stared at Jinwoo. You called the feds? I didn't have to. Your own men did. As agents swarmed, Hyun-jae was forced to his knees. Handcuffs clicked. Miranda rights echoed. He looked up at Jade one last time. This isn't over. Yes, she said, lowering her gun. It is. They dragged him out. The restaurant fell silent. Jinwoo pulled Jade close. She melted into him, adrenaline finally crashing. It's done, he murmured against her hair. Is it? Really? Hyun-jae will spend the rest of his life in prison. His organization is dismantled. His assets frozen. Jinwoo tilted her chin up. You're safe. Our daughter is safe. Jade's hand moved to her belly. The baby kicked strong, persistent. She'll never know this world, Jade said. The violence. The fear. No. She'll know only love. And what about us? What happens now? Jinwoo's thumb traced her cheekbone. Now we live. We raise our daughter. We build something better than what my father left behind. Can you walk away? From all of it. I already have. The moment I chose you over the empire. Jade searched his eyes. Found only truth. I love you, she whispered. I don't know when it happened, but I do. I know when it happened, Jinwoo said. The elevator. When you smiled at a stranger holding a door. She kissed him then, soft and sure and full of promise. Outside, federal vehicles departed. Evidence logged. Empire destroyed. Inside, 2 people who'd been weapons in someone else's war finally laid down their arms. 3 months later, their daughter was born during a thunderstorm. They named her Hope. Because after darkness, there's always light. And after war, there's always a chance to rebuild. Jade held her daughter close, Jinwoo's arms wrapped around them both, and knew one absolute truth. She'd walked through fire and emerged stronger. Mocked in a grocery store by a man who thought she was nothing. Married to a man who saw her as everything. And now, holding the future in her arms, Jade Harper Lee finally understood. She was never the victim in anyone's story. She was always the hero in her own. If you loved this story of vengeance and devotion, subscribe now to Ruthless Romance Tales. Hit that subscribe button, smash that notification bell, and welcome to a world where love doesn't save you, it transforms you. See you in the next tale.